Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is the fourth installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, and it was directed by Brad Bird and stars Tom Cruise. This time, Ethan Hunt, along with the rest of IMF, has been framed for a crime they did not commit, and as a result, Ghost Protocol has been initiated, and so IMF is being disavowed. They have to be shut down, basically. And while all this is going on, Ethan Hunt has been doing a lot of research about this nuclear terrorist who basically wants to activate nuclear launch codes to start World War III. So Ethan Hunt, along with the rest of the few IMF agents that are left, have to work together in order to not only stop this guy from launching this missile, but they also have to clear IMF's name. Now, I'm going to be doing something that I have not done for quite a while, and that is a special collab video. For this specific review, I'm collaborating with another YouTuber. His name is Aaron from Aaron at the Movies, and together we're going to be tackling this movie.
Hey there, my name's Aaron, and I just want to start off by saying thank you to Corey for letting me be a part of this review. He's an awesome guy, and I love talking about great movies with awesome people.
Thank you, Aaron. It's an honour that you'd say that about me.
Now, my history with the Mission Impossible series is a bit of an interesting one. Last year, when Rogue Nation came out, I really wanted to see it on its opening day, but I had not seen a single Mission Impossible movie beforehand. So, I had to watch all 4 Mission Impossible movies within a couple of days. And I have to say, there have been more ups and downs in the Mission Impossible series than there have been in the entire James Bond franchise. Now, like Corey just said, the plot for this movie is that IMF is disavowed, which means Ethan and his team are on their own. Which, when you think about it, is kind of a recurring theme in the Mission Impossible series. The first one, Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and Rogue Nation all see Ethan and his team either going rogue or working against IMF. The only one that sees Ethan working with IMF is the second one, and the second one's a pile of crap. Well, I suppose if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I guess. If you guys saw my reviews of the trilogy, the first 3 movies, you would know that I love the Mission Impossible franchise. I haven't seen the TV show, but I absolutely adore the movies. And if you saw my review of the original movies, then you would know that I love the original movie. The second one is just okay. It is really cheesy and really stupid, but there are some things about it that I genuinely like about it. But it's definitely overall the weakest film in the franchise. The third one was definitely better than the second one, but it wasn't as good as the first one, at least in my opinion. This was directed by J.J. Abrams, who also directed Star Wars The Force Awakens. This definitely isn't as good as Star Wars The Force Awakens, but I definitely think it is a really solid action film. I would definitely consider MI3 a really good movie, but I wouldn't say it's as good as 1. And then we have Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which in my honest opinion is my absolute favourite one in the entire franchise. So much so, I've actually considered getting the Blu-ray for this movie despite the fact I already own all 5 movies on DVD. So why do I consider Ghost Protocol to be the best one? A lot of reasons, actually. Also, I have to admit, this movie is really well directed. Like I said before, this movie was directed by Brad Bird, who in previous times, he was previously known for directing animated films like The Iron Giant, as well as 2 Pixar films, Ratatouille and The Incredibles. How Brad Bird went from Pixar to Mission Impossible is anyone's guess.
Now, Brad Bird added a few things to this movie that I think make it better than the first 3 in the series. First of all, he added a sense of urgency to this movie. Every scene feels just as important as the last one, which makes the movie go a lot quicker than it actually is. And the other thing that he did, which I think is a very clever move, is that the equipment that Ethan and his team use always ends up breaking. No matter what it is, it just breaks. Which, in my opinion, is very clever because it actually makes the mission that they're on almost impossible. Because in all the other films, their equipment pretty much works, which makes all of the missions that they're on pretty easy. However, in this one, because the equipment doesn't work, it makes the mission a lot harder for both Ethan and the whole of the team.
This movie proves to me that Brad Bird has a passion in not just directing animated films, but he has a passion for making films in general. And it really shows throughout this movie. Also, this is definitely one of the more light-hearted movies of the franchise. Now, like I said, the second movie is pretty stupid and sometimes it's laughable. However, this one is very light-hearted in some places because it's definitely by far the most genuinely funny movie in the entire franchise. One of my examples of the comedy in this movie working is during the Burj Khalifa scene. There are one or two jokes made during the scene throughout, however, at the end of the scene, Ethan Hunt makes a joke that I think is so hilarious, it makes me burst out in laughter every single time. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And the really funny thing is that I think that is hilarious, however, if I was in Ethan's shoes, I probably would have said the exact same thing.
The characters in this movie are really good. Jeremy Renner as this newcomer is very, very good and adds to the team, but he also has a sense of mystery behind his character because he knows something that Ethan doesn't know, and it is related straight to his past, and you just know that as soon as Ethan figures this out, there's gonna be trouble. Simon Pegg as Benji is really good, and this time he is actually fully a part of the team. He's not at a desk anymore, he's in the field, which I think is really good because I think he was quite underutilised in Mission Impossible 3. So to have him be a part of the team and have him have great chemistry with Tom Cruise just makes him a lot more likeable. And of course, Tom Cruise is good yet again as Ethan Hunt.
The cast is spot on in this movie. Tom Cruise is fantastic in this movie. I really appreciate the amount of commitment he has into his movies, especially his action films. I'll get more into that a little bit later. However, another thing I really love about Tom Cruise's performances, especially in this movie, is the fact that even when he's not doing elaborate action scenes, even when he's not hanging from buildings or airplanes or bullet trains, but he's just in standalone dialogue scenes, you can tell that he's really charismatic and he really is truly passionate about the movie he's making. Tom Cruise was just born to play as Ethan Hunt, and I can't imagine anyone else in the role. The amount of charisma and passion he puts into every single scene of this movie makes him just such a delight to watch. However, unlike Mission Impossible movies previously, one thing I really appreciate about this movie, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's the best, is the team aspect. Now yes, Ethan Hunt is the main protagonist. However, in this movie you really do get a sense that this is a team effort and they are all working together to achieve the same goal. And every single character feels like they are involved and they don't just sort of stand around doing nothing. But every single IMF member feels like that they are all contributing to the plot or the mission, whatever you prefer. It really feels like that everyone contributes in their own individual ways, and I really do get the feeling and sensation that if Ethan Hunt was doing this mission alone, he probably would have failed. Jeremy Renner has a fantastic performance, and I really love the commitment he puts into his character, as well as the fact that I love how his character is written, because you know that there is a lot of things about this guy that he's hiding from the group. In Mission Impossible 3, Simon Pegg really only makes a cameo as Benji, and he's really only in the movie for a few scenes. However, in this movie, he is in the field, and he contributes to the main mission, and it was just such a smart decision to make, because Simon Pegg's performance in this movie is fantastic, and it makes Benji such a delight to watch. And I've come to realise that Simon Pegg is actually a really talented actor. This guy is just really talented at acting, and I cannot wait to see what else Simon Pegg has in store for us in future movies.
The action in this movie is incredible, and seeing that this is Brad Bird's first live action movie, that is pretty impressive, because the entire movie has this slick, stylish look to it that is even carried over in the action scenes, and it makes each scene feel a lot more epic than it should do, especially the Burj Khalifa scene, because it honestly feels like you're on the edge of the building with Tom Cruise. I also enjoy the prison scene at the start where Ethan's just fighting his way through all these people, and also there's a fight at the end in this car manufacturing warehouse which is also just as entertaining.
The cinematography is really well done. The overall film has this really nice polished look to it. I don't know if the look of the movie was accomplished with the type of cameras they used, or if it was done in post-production, or a combination of both, but this movie looks fantastic. Again, one of the reasons why I've considered getting the Blu-ray for this movie, despite the fact I already own it on DVD. Along with the excellent cinematography, there are the amazing action sequences. Early on, there's one very suspenseful scene in the Kremlin. This is a scene that not too many critics talk about, but it is very suspenseful. It's one of the most suspenseful scenes I've ever seen in my life. I love how they return to the complete lack of sound. There's very little sound in this scene. There's no music at all, and the only bits of sound you do hear are really subtle things, like the rustling of this sheet thing that they're pushing, or the footsteps. And in a way, it kind of feels like that this scene is paying tribute to the CIA vault scene in the very first Mission Impossible movie. And then you have the big one. The Burj Khalifa scene. Oh my god, I love this scene. This scene has a real epic feel to it. Not only are the camera angles fantastic, it has a great combination of close-ups, medium shots, and establishing shots. But I just love the amount of effort that was put into this scene. Why? Because it's real. Most companies these days would probably just have this scene and they would probably just have either the person CGI or the building CGI, or probably both. However, this was not done with CGI or green screen effects. This entire scene is real. Tom Cruise actively actually attached himself to a bunch of wires and a harness, and he's actually using a harness and hanging on the outside of the building. So Tom Cruise using a harness is actively out there climbing on the building. And everything about this performance shows that he's really out there. Everything from his facial expressions and the fact that his legs are dangling. Seeing Tom Cruise's commitment to actually being outside climbing the building is something that not a lot of actors do, and I've got to respect him for it. I also really love the design of the special gloves that he uses to climb the building, and I honestly really want a replica pair of those gloves. They just look really cool. What adds to the scene is the fact that there's actually a lot of tension built within the scene. For starters, he's climbing really slowly because it would probably take a lot of muscles to be able to continuously pull yourself up like that. Not only that, but like Aaron just said, things do break. The gloves actually break on him, and when he needs to get to the certain window, he needs to use a laser cutter, and that explodes right in his face. And above all of that, there is a ticking clock. Add that to Michael Giacchino's amazing, ominous music, and it does a great job of building tension. This scene is just so well shot, and I love it from every single angle, and as a result, I'm going to be completely honest, the Burj Khalifa scene from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is my all-time favourite scene in all of cinema. And one thing I particularly noticed and really liked about this movie, watching it again for the sake of this review, is that I really love how it relies on visual storytelling. It's obvious that everyone behind this movie understood about the phrase, show, don't tell. And so there's a lot of things about this movie that you are shown, and no one tells you through blatant exposition scenes, but you're more shown it. Yes, there are certain special exposition scenes, especially the your mission should you choose to accept it lines. However, there are also a lot of things that the movie expresses through visuals.
Now, even though this movie is really good, I mean, it's my second favourite Mission Impossible movie, it does have flaws. And the main one is that the villain is incredibly lackluster, which is a shame because Mikhail Nyqvist is a very good actor. He's really good in movies such as John Wick, but here he just seems really underutilised. All he does is walk around and do bad guy things. Nothing else, just that. Such a waste. There is hardly any motivation given to his character whatsoever, and yeah, he just does bad guy things, and it's just really annoying because seeing the actor in other films, I know he can do a lot more, and it's just so annoying that it's wasted potential. The other main flaw that I have with this movie is that after a certain point, it does become a little bit forgettable. Now, that's not me saying that the whole movie's forgettable, because it definitely isn't. But after the Burj Khalifa scene, the rest of the movie just doesn't really go anywhere. Now, like I said, there is a sense of urgency throughout the movie, and yes, that is maintained throughout the entire runtime. But from the start of the movie to the Burj Khalifa scene, it's all really good and really memorable. But from the Burj Khalifa scene to the end of the movie, I just can't seem to remember much that happens. I think it's because the placing of the Burj Khalifa scene, because it's such a big scene, it kind of feels a bit out of place, stuck in the middle of the movie. If they had put that Burj Khalifa scene more towards the end, and instead put the smaller scenes that are near the end more in the middle, then I think it would have made a more interesting movie.
I for one love this movie, but I also am not afraid to admit that this definitely does have a couple of problems. For starters, I don't think this movie is very well paced. Everything from the very beginning of the movie, all the way up to the Dubai sequence, all of that is fantastic. It's amazing stuff. However, there's some real serious issues with the pacing in the third act, and the third act overall feels a bit sloppy to me. The movie feels like it runs a lot slower for a good 20 minutes or so. There are certain things where Ethan Hunt has to do and he has to do them alone, and there's this whole long drawn out scene where they have to infiltrate a party and all this stuff. And overall, in this segment of the film for me just completely stops dead in its tracks. However, it does pick itself back up again with the climax. Also, I do have to agree about the villain. The villain is really, really pathetic. And above that, I honestly have to admit, the villain's motivation for doing what he's doing is really stupid. Apart from my flaws with the pacing in the third act and the villain, I'm gonna be honest, I love this movie, and it's still one of my all-time favorite action movies. So despite the flaws, I'm going to give Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol an A+. I still consider this one of my all-time favorite movies, despite the fact that I do admit that the flaws I do have with this movie are pretty major flaws.
Apart from those flaws, I absolutely love Ghost Protocol. It's one of my favourites in the series, and seeing that it's Brad Bird's first live-action movie, I think he did an incredible job.
And huge shout out to Aaron, he makes movie reviews just like I do, and I really enjoy his content. And aside from that, a huge thank you to Aaron from Aaron at the Movies for being a part of this review. I had a ton of fun doing this collaboration, and so thank you so much for being on my channel, Aaron. As for myself, stay tuned for my review for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is, as of now, the final movie in the franchise. And until then, hasta la vista, baby.